everyone. This is Dr. Katie from Scribenote, and I am welcoming Emily Mary with us today, or should I say, almost Dr. Emily Mary. This
Nice.
is our first segment of our series, What's Up, Doc? Welcome, Emily.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us where you went to school, what year you're in, and what your plans are for after graduation.
Yeah, so I'm at the Ontario Veterinary College or the OVC. I'm graduating 2025, so I'm the year of the Amethyst Orcas. Go Orcas.
Yeah.
And yeah, I finished placement, like I finished my fourth year in about 3 weeks and then final exams and I'm done. So I'm very close to the end, which is both very exciting and a little terrifying. And I signed on with a vet clinic in the town that I am doing school in Guelph, and they're like fantastic and wonderful. And they have, a combination of GP, emerge, exotic, small animals. So I'm very excited to work there. And I'll also be working more full time with Scribenote as well when I'm all done. So lots of good, fun things on the horizon.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I can remember that time very clearly. And it feels like the end of fourth year is like, a little scary when you're approaching it, but I promise it's kind of just a bit of a formality. You got to pass your final exams and write the licensing exam. And honestly, I think at this point they really want everybody to move on in their
Yeah.
lives. So hopefully, everything goes well in the next couple weeks. And then yeah, so with Scribenote, you're a co-founder,
Yes.
and your role coming forward will obviously be a little bit more involved now that you're less busy with school.
Yeah.
What do you think, Scribenote has helped you with through school? And then, like, how are you excited to help change VetMed as you join us?
Okay, loaded question. I would say so. My involvement with Scribenote throughout vet school has been kind of varied. At the beginning of vet school, so 4 years ago, Scribenote was a very different company. We had a lot, a lot fewer employees, a lot less going on. So I was kind of like, I acted as like a consultant. I kind of helped here or there with like just like things of the startup world. And then as I've gone through vet school, I was more of like a conference person who went to conferences. And so I would kind of meet other veterinarians and get to chat with them about their experiences in the workforce and talk them through what Scribenote would do for them on a day to day. So that was a really interesting experience because obviously I was getting to talk to my future colleagues being in like second and third year vet school and even approaching into fourth year, being able to talk to people who own practices or work in different types of veterinary medicine, getting to see their perspective on what their day to day looks like and how notes affect them in all different walks of life, from new grads to 30 years out. So that was a really wonderful part of working with Scribenote and going to those conferences. And then I was kind of involved in like marketing and sales and some stuff in the middle there, just the many
That's
hats of startup life. And yeah, fourth year I've been a little more focused on just passing my NAVLE and keeping my head above water in fourth year because it's a lot. Like you're constantly at new placements every week. I've been all across North America. I was in the Yukon, I was in the Northwest Territories, I was down in the States for a while. So I've taken a step back from going to conferences and being super involved with Scribenote and just kind of focusing on my own mental health and like keeping myself alive through working all the busy jobs and studying after school and keeping my animals alive and all of that, planning a wedding. So it's been a crazy year, but I'm excited for a little more stability and ease day by day as I graduate and kind of walk into the real world.
Yeah, for sure. Routine definitely gets a lot easier after fourth year. I'm excited for you that you've got something lined up. Actually, a few things you mentioned. So, prepping for your NAVLE, what would be a few pieces of advice you'd have to third year students that are coming into fourth year? It was quite a long time ago for me now, so not as fresh in my mind, but some tips for anybody who's listening.
Yeah. So two of my best friends are actually in their third year going into their fourth year. So I'm pretty seasoned now at explaining the good and the bad of the NAVLE. I would say the thing that kept me the most sane moving through the NAVLE season was having one of the prep programs. Some people will ask you like, is Zuku better? Is vet prep better? I honestly don't think there is a preference. I
Mhm.
think it's just whatever you end up getting at the time. I ended up doing vet prep and I really liked the accountability of receiving the emails every day and being able to do the test questions. I absolutely do not think it's necessary to have one of those to keep you focused. That's just how I prefer to do my learning.
Mhm.
And vet prep, I think Zuko and vet prep both have mini lectures and power pages and stuff like that. But I found those really helpful for when I was on like dog walks or I was like feeling really burnt out and I didn't want to look at a screen anymore. I could just pop my earbuds in and I could take the dogs out and I could listen to a lecture on like swine health or how you treat chickens for coccidia. And so like little things that I knew I needed to know, but like sitting down and studying it when it's not like a primary interest of mine was a lot easier to listen to lectures. And then my other tip for all my friends who are about to enter NAVLE season is find your support system and find your buddies. So I had some of the lovely classmates of mine. We would have regularly scheduled times where we'd meet up and we'd study together. And we do kind of a combination of group studying as well as like individual studying. And so I would just have the power and support of having somebody there who's also suffering through studying for the NAVLE. And then being able to talk through like kind of difficult questions or things that like maybe we didn't learn as well when we were in fourth year. Like we didn't retain like equine lameness as well as we probably should have. And then when you're talking through it with your peers, like maybe they understand it a little bit better and they have more information and maybe you understood like cholangiohepatitis, like the pathological cascade. So maybe you're able to explain that to them and it kind of provides that like both social support of like suffering together, but also the like helps you kind of keep on track and work with each other and just lean into like your friends and your partners and people that you have in your life because they're going to keep you afloat during that time. And just know it's going to be stressful, but you're going to be okay. Like you're going to feel like you're drowning for a bit there, but everyone's okay. Whether or not you pass or fail is not a reflection of whether or not you're going to be a good doctor. It's just you got to get through it. You all have to write it. So do your best. And if it doesn't go well the first time, write it again.
Yep, great tips. I think that that was a super daunting test to go into, like so long, and just being like, oh my God, how am I ever going to pass? But a lot of people do pass, and like you said, it's not really a reflection of how much you know. It's more so like how much stamina you have going through the
Yeah,
tests, right? So,
it's a long test.
yeah, just I think the one tip I might have given to you back when we were talking about it is like try not to second guess yourself. If you like have an answer when you're reading the question, pick it and move on. Like don't flag it to go back because usually your first instinct is the right one. So I don't know if you followed that when you were doing it or not, but I found that
Yeah,
that really helped
definitely.
me. Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
I didn't even touch the flag button for the second half of my exam. I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I either know it or I don't. And I was
Yeah,
just moving along because you're fatigued and
yep,
you're trying to, you start to second guess your knowledge and whether or not you understand vet med at all in the test and you're in this in body, out of body experience. So
yeah,
everyone is gonna do great. We're all gonna graduate. It's all
yeah.
gonna be okay. It's just getting through it and
Yeah,
doing
exactly. Yeah,
support.
well, I'm glad you're on the other side of that, and I'm sure
Me
many
too.
of the third years will be soon.
Yeah.
I guess another thing, rotation wise, like any really cool rotations that you'd recommend people like look into. I saw you had a cool forensics rotation, which they definitely didn't offer when
I
I was in
did.
school. Yeah, tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So first and foremost, Dr. Bateman and Dr. Emily Brower hosted the most incredible 1 week placement ever for forensics. If you have any interest, like as a third year in working in shelter medicine and emergency medicine, if you're interested just in like the legal system, this course is definitely for you. It's a week-long placement and you do a combination of postmortems, in lecture learning, as well as like in the field type mock learning.
Mhm.
And the team, like they put it all out. They had us do a mock crime scene, which was incredible.
So cool.
We visited like actual court, so online court to see how it worked. We ran our own court case. We were expert witnesses. We did postmortems. Like it was really awesome.
That sounds
It
so
was a
cool.
very like trigger warning course. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot you learn about that you probably would prefer not to know about society and even just
Mm.
within Ontario. Like kind of the stuff that happens in animal cruelty cases is a lot for your brain to take in.
Mhm.
But Dr. Bateman does a fantastic job of kind of supporting you through that and talking about those big feelings. And you and your group will really work together on like navigating the emotional side of it. And then you learn just like an insane amount. And now I'm like ready to go, rearing to be an expert witness. I'm like ready to get into court. So I did learn a lot and it was a really incredible
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, that sounds so very cool, but obviously very eye-opening. Do you
Yes.
know if they're offering like courses for vets that are already in practice? Because I'd never even heard of that field, and I've been out since 2016.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to check with Dr. Bateman, but I do think there is opportunities for continued education. He gave us a couple of resources. They have a symposium, like a mini conference every year, and a bunch of speakers come and talk, and you can learn and do your CE that way. So if that's something you're interested in, I can always point you to those resources.
Yeah,
I think Dr. Bateman goes every year, so I think that's something that he's pretty passionate about. So I can reach out to him and see if I can get you some CE, because it is a really interesting field, and it's wonderful to be able to support your community in that kind of way.
yeah, that's very neat. And maybe if you send me those resources, we can post them in the
Yeah,
kind of blurb under this
yeah,
little
absolutely.
discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other favorite rotations? Anything else you'd recommend students to look into?
Yeah. I guess it depends on people's interests. Like I am more wildlife exotics focused than large animal focused. So a lot of my like favorite placements were in kind of niche environments. And so I went up to the Northwest Territories and I did 2 weeks with a wildlife veterinarian up there. And I cannot say enough good things about my 2 weeks there. The veterinarian that I worked with was like the most insanely brilliant woman ever. Like her brain is just like massive. And all the information she had was just out of this world. So I learned so much from her and the team that works within her, like within the government that was there. And I learned a lot about the cases and the wildlife, and I was doing postmortems all the time. So it was really hands-on. And so if anyone has the like space and time to go up to the NWT, I highly recommend it, because it's like a different world up there, but the medicine is like incredible and the stuff you get to do is incredible. And so that was one of my favorite ones. But I also had a lot of fun at like the ERs I worked at. Like I went to BC and I did 2 weeks at a Langley ER. And that one was really awesome too, because they saw exotics and wildlife, and I got to be really hands on there as well. And I think honestly, what makes a good placement for me, and it might not be for everybody, is that I love to feel like I'm included with my preceptors. And I like to feel like we're making decisions as like a team, rather than it being like you make a decision and I'll yes or no it, or I'll make a decision and you can just watch. I liked being paired up with doctors and having it be like, okay, let's work together and let's come up with differentials together, and what's our plan together, and do you want to go talk to the client, do you want to scrub into the surgery? Like
Yeah.
it always felt very like we were all working together as a team, rather than a very obvious like you're a student, you can stand over here type vibe,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I really appreciated and I felt was really helpful for my learning.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a lot more applicable to real world, right? Like,
Yeah.
because when you join into the real world, you'll have colleagues you work with. And it's really nice to be able to find a place where you can bounce ideas off people and just kind of
Yeah,
like learn as you go, but also have a bit of support as well. So I'm super
absolutely.
glad to hear that you've had such an exciting, and it sounds like inspiring fourth year.
Yes.
It's obviously becomes a bit of a seems a bit overwhelming, I think, for people when they're just getting into it. So I'm really happy you could share a bit of your experience. And is there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up?
My one advice would be when people are seeking kind of like surgical experience and they're like feeling a little bit let down. I think this might be unique to the OBC and not necessarily as transmissible as for all the other Canadian or even US schools, but we have a community health and outreach program, so the CHIP program that runs through the OBC, and people are always really gunning to get that placement because they really want to go and do surgery and they want to like be really hands on. But I ended up pairing with the KW Humane Society here. And I found such a passion for shelter medicine while I was working there. And when I first got the KW Humane Society instead of one of the other ones I applied for, I was a little bit let down that I didn't get to have the CHIP experience that I wanted. But what I can say is that sometimes those things that feel like you're missing out on something end up being like your greatest gift. And I had like the most incredible time there. I ended up going back for a second week, and the team was so incredible. The cases I got to see and be involved with were so amazing. And I was directly working with members of the public, which I found very fulfilling. So I feel like sometimes you get those situations where you're like, oh, I really wish I had done this, or I really wish I could have gotten that placement. And in the end, it ends up working out almost better for you that you didn't get something that you really thought you were gunning for. So just take everything, like everything in fourth year really feels like the end of the world when things do or don't happen, because it's so like high stakes and you feel like this is the only time you're ever going to get to like, travel around and see all these different specialists and stuff. But it's all meant to work out the way it works out, and you're going to meet incredible people, and you're going to have an incredible year, even though it's going to be slightly overwhelming. So just take everything like in the glass half full kind of way, because fourth year is amazing, and it really is like a really once in a lifetime experience to work with some of these specialists. So just lean into those placements and
Yeah.
have a good time.
Yeah, so basically, it's like keep an open mind. I think that's such a good piece of information to share with your colleagues entering into fourth year because you're right, it's a pretty wild experience.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super happy we could chat today, and I hope all of your tips and advice really reach a lot of our, third years that are going to fourth year, and even just for people already in practice, just looking back on that time. I think it would be really nice to hear from you. So thanks so much for joining us
Yeah,
on
thank you for having me.
you're welcome. And maybe we'll catch up once you've started your life in the real world as a veterinarian.
Yes,
I think
as
that
a
would
big
be
kid.
yeah. Well, good luck with the last couple weeks of school, and we'll see you in the workforce very soon.
Very soon.